And by then, Gus Dur became the president or the general chairperson of Nahdlatul Ulama. And Gus Dur initiated a series of dialogue, of interfaith dialogue. And Gus Dur is one of the most important intellectual, thinker, and also ulama who was responsible for setting in motion a series of dialogue, interfaith conversation, and also produce a new generation of Muslim thinkers and intellectuals who were active in interfaith dialogue, including me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me begin my speech by telling you a story. In 70s of last century, Kiai Haji Abdurrahman Wahid, or as widely known as Gus Dur, our former president and our former general chairperson of Nahdlatul Ulama, was invited to give a lecture in a Christian seminary in Malang, East Java. Gus Dur was still young by then, and he accepted the invitation. So he went to this Christian seminary in Malang, in East Java, and gave a lecture or presentation about Islam. But the controversy ensued or followed after Gus Dur came home. News spread out about his going and visiting and giving a lecture in Christian seminary. Some traditional ulama or cleric of our organization objected very much to Gus Dur giving a lecture in Christian seminary. That was in 70s. I can describe that period, borrowing from the Catholic terminology, as our pre-Vatican II moment in our history in Nahdlatul Ulama. At that time, the idea of interreligious dialogue wasn't known or popular among our scholars or intellectual or ulama. Then, moving forward, in 80s of last century, 1980s, Kiai Haji Abdurrahman Wahid or Gus Dur became one of the important icon and symbol of the interfaith dialogue. And by then, Gus Dur became the president or the general chairperson of Nahdlatul Ulama. And Gus Dur initiated a series of dialogue, of interfaith dialogue. And Gus Dur is one of the most important intellectual, thinker, and also ulama who was responsible for setting in motion a series of dialogue, interfaith conversation, and also produce a new generation of Muslim thinkers and intellectuals who were active in interfaith dialogue, including me. Today, Nahdlatul Ulama sponsored, initiated, in collaboration with Rabita Alam al-Islami, to organize this very ambitious forum to bring together leaders from different faith, tradition, religion, to sit together in Bali, in the land of God, as local say. This is the land of God. Can you imagine the journey from 70s to 2022? The journey from Gus Dur being criticized because of giving lecture in Christian seminary to today, this morning, the same organization, the same ulama, and today we see this forum. I think this is a quite remarkable journey. I would say that this is a Copernican revolution or Copernican leap from 70s to 2022. So our leaders, Kiai Yahya Stakov, for me or for us in Nahdlatul Ulama is the continuation of this journey. He initiated this forum believing that Islam and all religion can contribute to solve the current problem that we face in modern time. Starting from August this year, Nahdlatul Ulama launched a project called Halaqah Fikih Peradaban. The goal is to encourage the ulama, our ulama who are affiliated with Nahdlatul Ulama, to do what some Muslim thinkers in Arab countries call i'adatul qira'ah, or rereading, namely rethinking our tradition and recontextualizing our tradition in the light of our current social, cultural, political, and economical context. Ladies and gentlemen, Muslims are not alone in encountering the challenge posed by modernity. The challenge can be summed up in the following question: how far can we be still anchored and rooted in our tradition without losing relevance in modern society? How can we be Muslim or Jews or Christian, Hindus, Buddhists, etc., in the sense of being faithful, loyal to our tradition, and yet remain relevant in modern society? Or, as some Arab Muslim thinkers in Middle East term it as the mushkila, the challenge of al-asala wal-hadatha. That's the biggest challenge of Muslim today. Jews, Christian, and Muslim, I name only these three religions since they share common ancestry. Jews, Christian, and Muslim have one thing in common. They inherit textual tradition in the form of exegetical corpus called tafsir, produced by religious scholars or ulama of a span of centuries in the past. Those textual traditions constitute a foundation upon which the society of believers or ummah is founded. Jews, Christian, and Muslim share common religious experience, namely the experience as the society of text, mujtama'un nas. Scripture, which literally means a written document or written thing, lies at the heart of Jewish, Christian, and Muslim religious and spiritual life. An Egyptian scholar who happened to visit my father-in-law's house in Rembang in Central Java, his name is Professor Nasser Hamid Abu Zaid, aptly characterized Islamic civilization as the civilization of text, or hadaratun nas. In a nutshell, we cannot understand the mechanic of Islamic society or other religious society, including Christian and Jewish, without paying serious attention to the texts around which Muslim life revolve. However, in the context of Islam, there is no single text. There is one single text with capital T that constitute the foundational text, or an-nasul mu'assis, from which all other texts come from. And that is the Quran and Sunnah, or the prophetic tradition. These texts give rise to thousands of texts, other texts written by the ulama, by the scholars, by the cleric in the past. And this thousands of texts in the form of exegetical corpus that explain and interpret the Quran and Sunnah became the foundation of the Muslim life throughout the centuries. The problem is, and this is the problem that Muslim, Christian, and Jews share, as Rabbi Sylvina Shemen quite wonderfully speak about it in her passionate speech here. The problem is that these texts, these 1,000 texts were written in a different context. This is the problem. And Nahdlatul Ulama literally means the awakening of traditional religious ulama, or religious scholars. We inherit this rich tradition of text. The problem is that these texts were written in the different context, different situation. Our challenge today, as a Muslim, as a member of Nahdlatul Ulama, or as Nahdliyin, is to rethink, reinterpret, reevaluate our understanding, our interpretation of this text. Nahdlatul Ulama, under the guidance of Kiai Yahya Khalil Stakuf, initiated from August this year a series of seminar called Halaqah of Fiqh Peradaban. And these seminars are, the goal is to encourage our ulama to rethink, to do i'adatul qira'ah, to do rereading and rethinking of our tradition. It started from August, and we are going to organize 250 halaqah seminars in the span of 5 months. And I'm responsible for organizing this halaqah, and the response of the kiai, of the ulama, of our leaders and scholars are quite enthusiastic, which is quite, for me, is surprising. There is no moment of ulama questioning me or Kiai Yahya why organizing this seminar or this halaqah, because this halaqah is trying to criticize and also contextualize and rethink our tradition. So this is, I think, a good progress in Nahdlatul Ulama, and I believe that this halaqah will produce a new generation of kiai, of ulama, who can contextualize Islamic tradition within the modern context. Wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.